Hello again, and welcome to the second part of my conversation with Maya Pindeus, founder and chief executive of Another Earth. But first, the inevitable plug for my media training service. Do you want to sound as confident as my interviewee in this episode? If you talk to the press or other media, are you worried you'll be misquoted, or they'll just publish their story and not yours? Clapperton Media Associates can help with coaching. Drop me a note, guy@clapperton.co.uk, and we'll arrange a time for an exploratory call. Now, back to the podcast. Now, for those who missed part one, it's still online, but if you just want to crack on, here's a quick reminder of why you should be listening. The data companies work from when they're predicting risk and other environmental issues is incomplete and unreliable, and artificial intelligence doesn't get the right hooks. Another Earth believes it overcomes this through synthetic data, effectively putting a virtual Earth in place. That's a gross simplification, so I can understand it, of course. My guest is the chief executive and co-founder of that company, Another Earth, Maya Pindeus. Maya, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, Maya, if your models are predicting future risk, which is what this is about, how do you stop organizations treating prediction as if they were certainty? I mean, they are forecasts. They can go wrong, can't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the key lies in not having one prediction only that is the absolute truth, whether it might be right or wrong, but actually to have scenarios, to be able to simulate scenarios that can very well be, different instances of predictions. And with that, I think by having this flexibility and the ability to do so, it becomes less about this is what the future is going to look like to, well, if I take a certain decision, this is what it might look like, and have a much more transparent, collaborative environment, I would hope.
Okay, what happens when the synthetic model perhaps disagrees with real-world assumptions or, even worse, political priorities?
Yeah, I mean, one important thing to point out is we're creating a synthetic data engine that can replicate data about any place in the world, really, with practically any detail around the planet's surface. It's still something that is very much tuned and applied to specific environment, specific situations. Meaning that our aim is not to work to create this global synthetic model that has, in a way, a life on its own. That's not the point. It's actually working explainable models, being more small models that can be plugged into real world workflows. And with that, eventually avoid that risk. But what I would say, though, is that if the models trained with this enhanced or this new information show insights that were previously not seen and show actually that they are contrary to, let's say, political priorities, and then I think that's strong evidence and warrants a discussion around that. That's exactly what we're looking for here, what we're going for, to provide more insight and more variations in scenarios to be able to, take more mindful decisions.
Do you think we might be entering an era when companies will trust simulations more than lived experience?
Well, I think you need simulations to understand what the lived experience might be. So I wouldn't say, trusting that more than the other, but I think there's more uncertainty about what the future will hold. There's loads of changes going on, as we all know. And so simulations can help provide a more holistic view of what those lived experiences might be. That's I think a way that I like to think about it, because then it becomes supportive, it becomes help for us to take our decisions.
The flip side of that last question, I suppose, is how you deal with skepticism from people who hear the phrase synthetic data and immediately assume it's just made up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's a valid concern, right? You hear synthetic, you hear artificial, you hear all those things, right? And sure, it's synthetic, meaning it's artificially generated. But what I would say is that it's about complementing data. It's not about replacing or creating an alternative where we don't need to measure the real world. No, it's about creating a data source that allows you to measure the real world in detail that hasn't been possible before. And I think that's the point. And so to deal with skepticism, I think it's about measuring, it's about comparing. So in every step of the process of generating data, of building AI models, monitoring and prediction models, you need to compare. So you compare real versus synthetic, you compare performance at different stages, right? So that's something that actually I think any responsible tech company should have in their development pipeline. But in any case, but really it's about that. You compare the quality, you ensure this the same quality, but also you complement existing data. You allow to existing data or real data to be read. That's really what we're doing.
Do you think there are any ethical risks of highly accurate predictive systems? Could they be misused?
Ultimately, it's strongly believe it's about the decision being with us and us looking at any system for predictive systems, monitoring systems as support, and that's the key. So anything can, could potentially be misused if put in the wrong hands or not looked at them responsibly. But we look at this really as something that gives us another view, an additional enhanced perspective of view. But ultimately, the decision making should lie with us, human beings, with hopefully strong ethical and moral standards. That's ultimately what matters.
This could be quite far-reaching, couldn't it? I'm just thinking of the applications if this technology becomes widespread. Do you think it could affect things like insurance access or investment decisions, or even where people are willing to live?
I mean, we're really reading about first climate refugees, I believe, and things becoming reality in certain places. Definitely in the future. I think I would look at this that way. It's a puzzle piece, right? We're trying to make Earth observation data more readable and predictions less varied and scenario simulations more, well, I guess reflecting what is really like going on and likely to going on. Now, if that means that people are having a more accurate and transparent way of reading the planet, then yes, it could affect things like insurance, decision insurance, access, where people are looking, well, what more transparency brings there, right? If you know that certain risks are in your area, more prone to natural disasters, more prone to, less energy supply, more natural extraction, etc. Right now, so far reaching my side, then if this puzzle piece can help you take decisions on a personal nature, but also on a organizational and governmental nature, then sure, it can be a good thing as well.
Absolutely. You've obviously spoken to a lot of people about this because you've been raising funds for your company and you'll be spoke to all sorts of other stakeholders. What's the biggest misconception you've come across about climate or environmental risk modeling right now? What would you like to really set right in people's minds?
So I think we're getting there now, but I think for a long time there has been the notion about environmental being it's the level of what's called a humanitarian. You with lack of a better word, you're looking to protect nature because it's a good thing to do, right? And then there's been, well, there's more and more bad things happening, dangerous things happening, and there's been a bit of a disconnect in people's minds for a long time. I think that's changing now. I think it's becoming very clear that we're seeing the results, the impact of climate change and the positives that environmental protection can do. Can give you an example at the recent climate change conference in Brazil in November last year. And there's been this initiative there is this initiative now where protecting the Amazon rainforest is not should not be viewed as a charity anymore, because for a long time it has been. Governments and individuals donate to protect the rainforest. But ultimately, it's an investment in the future. So they're actually looking to implement investment vehicles there. So if you look at that, protecting means a more secure and a better future. And it's it's risk, it's investment, it's not charity. And I think there's been a long-standing misconception, but it's definitely changing now because we're seeing and feeling the consequences.
Do you think society is psychologically prepared for a world in which we can model future disruption in such precise ways?
I mean, it has to be. I would say. I mean, we don't want to live with too many blind spots. We don't want to tap in the dark. I think being able to see what the impacts of our actions are. I think yes, we are and we should be prepared, because that's the only way for us to take better decisions if we know what's going on the road ahead.
Completely. So, if another Earth does succeed at scale, or organizations like it, if this technology really takes off, what's the world going to look like differently in, say, 5 or 10 years from now?
God, I mean, that's where should my wish list start? Really, first, let's look at the environmental side of things, right? I mean, protecting natural assets should be a no-brainer, really. Everyone should be involved in that. Understand, like I said before, this is not a charitable cause, but actually need maxim, really. The other thing is, we're constantly reading about supply chain disruptions, blackout risk, the national grid, right? Not being people stockpiling, all of this, almost scenarios, doomsday scenarios that are happening, and sometimes, coming true, geopolitical risk and so on. I think if you're able to simulate, to look at its impact of your potential actions, potentially they would help us take infrastructure decisions or supply chain decisions now for the future. So we're not looking at short election cycles. We're looking 10, 15, 20 years ahead of actually building our energy system, supply chain system, food systems, infrastructure, road, rail, etc., in a way that is really forward-looking and not reactive. I think that's what I was looking for. It's less about being reactive, and we're living in a very reactive world at the moment, and we're seeing how it's not working. So yeah, that would be my wish, that we become more proactive in the planning and look way ahead. And if that's an impact or part of the impact that we're able to, a role that we're able to play, be very happy.
I think that's an excellent place to leave it. I'm well aware we've only scratched the surface of what you're doing. So, where can listeners find out more, please?
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, on our website, www.anotherearth.ai. We're publishing quite a lot on LinkedIn, if that's a platform you use. We have a blog, so we're publicizing about and writing about different issues, geopolitical, climate issues, etc. And then, of course, you can catch us at some of the tech and also geospatial events. Web Summit Rio is one coming up. Also, Nature Tech Week in London, this week and next, and also more industry-specific events, more energy and conservation realm. So yeah, we're around, but also always happy to answer any questions, and comments are always welcome.
Maya Pindeus, Chief Executive of Another Earth, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Guy.
And if you'd like to hear more like this, please do subscribe to the Near Futurist podcast on any of the platforms available, and do come back next week for the first instalment of our next interview. Thank you very much. See you then.